Good evening, everyone, and a very, very special welcome to you, Akanksha, today. How are you?
Hi Diksha, I'm very good. How are you?
Absolutely well. Loving December. It's one of my favorite months, and today is, definitely special for two reasons. First is because it's one of our first sessions in December for the Founder series that we've been very actively doing with Simplified, our partner, which is an AI based marketing tool. But the second reason it's special is today because I get to host Akanksha, who is really responsible for Encu in the literal sense. And what I mean with that is 4 years ago, or rather 3.5, 4 years ago, when Incubate was just a thought in my mind and idea in my head, she's the first person I got in touch with to do our logo and our entire sort of visual branding and strategy. And till date, she's been my go to. In fact, we recently got her to rebrand, and you'll be seeing a lot of our rebranding very soon. But Akanksha is the proud founder and creative director at Flying Elephant, which is one of the most bespoke branding and design agencies in the country. They've actually done some fantastic work. I mean, Incubate for sure, but a company called Go Nuts that I'm sure all of you have seen if you've stayed in a Marriott or a Taj or an Oberoi, those lovely dry fruits. That entire branding has been done by Akanksha's team. And of late, Akanksha has been working with some legacy businesses in the country, a lot in the SME space, manufacturing space, and really, really helping those businesses get a digital identity, because you and I both know that today, digital is growing at a much quicker pace than anything that's non-digital. So, Akanksha, a very, very warm welcome. And I'm so happy that you could make it today on the Founder series. And I'm looking forward to sharing, or rather, to getting some tips with you on brand strategy.
Thank you, Diksha. I didn't realize it was 3.5 years ago. That's
What?
been that's been a really long time. And Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I was looking forward to this, and I think you are also sort of one person who's pushed me to come more in front of the camera. I'm the behind the scenes kind of a person, but I'm looking forward to this conversation. And let's start. Excited.
Absolutely. Let's dive in. And yeah, part of my job is to push amazing women like you, and that's why we have the Founder series. But Akanksha, talk to me about the fact that today there are startups that are evolving, there are brands that are evolving. Everything is changing. How does one sort of understand, how do I keep my brand's identity in an ever changing, ever evolving world, right? How do I approach that as a founder? Any tips from an expert like yours?
So this is what we do, and this is what I also recommend our clients, or when we are consulting we tell them, one, do the research to understand what the market is currently doing in your industry, what your industry, which way is it heading, what are the new trends. Adapt to those trends, but keep the core value of what you as a company is, what your service or product or what the essence of your brand is, the same, but put it out in a new form, maybe on a digital platform, or probably in a new avatar, or refine it to so that it looks evolved, but you are staying true to your core
Understood. So, you know, I know that there's something that is very common in your design terms, which is like a brand guideline and a document that, a lot of times we on the other side ignore, but I know how important that is. So, if I was quickly to ask you for a checklist, that, okay, you know what, these are the things that a brand docket or a brand guideline should have, so that anyone who's a founder today has that, right? Because, like you said, just going back to what you're saying, that is the core of you, you evolving as a brand. So what are some of those things that, a founder should have in the brand guideline, or rather, just pay attention that if I want my venture to really scale and I want an audience to connect with me, these are the things I need to keep in place.
Right. So one is your visual identity, uh, which is which is essentially what your logo is. Make sure that you have that in your primary colors, if whatever the colors are, as or what your color palette is. Make sure that whoever is designing it is giving it to you in in a black version, in a white version, in a monochromes, in the color palette, in all the forms of the color palette that you have finalized the with with the creative team. Second is defining your vision and mission, because that also not it's not only for your customers, it's also for your team. When you are scaling up, you're of course going to grow with the team, and when you have that defined, it's easy to translate what you are envisioning at a bigger scale to the team, to get them on board, to align them to your vision. um, Third is have a color palette. uh, just have a color palette, and that's something that is taken for granted a lot. uh, Also, a lot of personal preferences come into play. That's what we've realized and we've understood. So when you are defining your brand identity, make sure you have a color palette in play. Make sure that you've identified two two typefaces, two fonts that you want to stick with across your communication. And yeah, and then apart from that, just uh, outline your brand story, right? So storytelling is probably the most important, one of the most important assets that you can build as a part of your brand strategy, to connect to people, to connect to your audience, to connect to the team, and for them to come together. So make sure your brand story is also articulated and defined correctly, the way you want to communicate in the brand guideline document.
No, fantastic. I think those were some very, very key points. And I hear you on the color palette. A lot of us tend to go personal in what we like, but we tend to forget that our brand is not for us, but actually, serving our end customer, or, whoever our target group is. And I think that's why, people like you, when you come in with a very sort of unbiased and a more objective sort of mindset, rather than it being defined by personal. So thank you for that. Akanksha, I think one of the toughest things is, and, again, gunning from this conversation is, as a founder, I have a brand strategy, and, I wanted to go here, I wanted to sell to them. But then translating that into design and what is outwardly visible to TG or stakeholders, it's a tough process, right? So how do you like tackle that, and what is your sort of secret sauce? And you have done this for thousands, hundreds of brands. So any challenging story that you'd want to share with us, where it was really tough, and then it sort of gave it your expert touch.
So one is the way we go ahead with it is to make it a collaborative process. So uh, the client always, or the founder always, has a vision. They may not be able to translate or communicate it or express it in the way that we understand it correctly. So we try to bridge that gap. We What we've realized is visual mood boards work very well when trying to understand what the client is envisioning. It may or may not be what is right for the brand, but at least there is a buy in of what they want, or they want for the brand, right? So that is important. From our end, there is a lot of mood boarding, sharing, communicating, that is important. Like for Incubate, I think we faced something like that as well, right?
Yeah, we
Because
did. Yeah, absolutely.
we did a lot of the verbal defining of the verbal aspects, and then Avneet and you were finding it difficult to visualize how that's going to get translated. So a lot of times we then create put like take a part of that and create a visual docket for it, uh, so that visually you are able to visual understand where we are going, and then we move on to building that up, and making sure all the assets are covered. But yeah, so to if I have to bring it down to two or three points, I think visual mood boarding is really important. A lot of times when we sense that there is clarity but just the visualization is not in place, then we put that into visual assets so that it's easy to understand. From our end, we think we are visual thinkers, not, and we understand not everyone is. So we try to do that at our end to make it simple, to simplify it for our for the clients as well.
I can second to that because we just went through the beautiful process with the Flying Elephant team to really, do a rebranding of Incubate. And, what we realized was, I had a couple of realizations and I want to share them, right? Just as we change as people, our companies do too, right? While we buy ourselves new clothes and go to the gym, we don't do that for our companies. So I think, this whole rebranding is so important, right? I mean, I would recommend it. Secondly, I think it gave us a lot of clarity as founders to really go back to where we started, what we've achieved, and where we want to go. I think that where we want to go part is so important because when you created something, you're probably not envisioned what you'd be like in the next couple of years, right? So what I loved was just expressing this to the team there, and whether it was Deepika who did an entire sort of word document with us with what Incubate means verbally, and what we're trying to do in terms of our vision and mission, or Akanksha and her team, when you all, put it into colors, into icons, into logos, into what the brand language and the visual identity should be. So I can definitely vouch that for me, it was not a design process, it was a business process because
It absolutely is.
we started this in June this year, us a couple of months, but now we're in the process of relaunching a bunch of things at Incubate, especially in fact a new launch is going to be our membership for female founders, and it fits so beautifully because we're able to imagine what the brand would look like because of this sort of new branding, new verbal communication, so on and so forth. So, Akanksha, I definitely vouch for that process. It was very very instrumental in us planning for like the next 2-3 years. And
Right. So
yeah, go
actually,
for
I'll add to that a little bit. So also what we've realized is that n- uh, that when we are asking those questions, or while the founders are answering those questions, there's so much that they are learning as well, because you don't, like, as founders we are doing so much at our end, so many roles we are playing. We defining smaller aspects of your brand, something that's not on priority, right? Because there are other things that you're firefighting about. So when you really have to sit down, take time to answer these questions, there's always uh, a discovery, and that's what we've heard from our clients time and again. And there's always cribbing because we send out a questionnaire, and then there's so much time they need to put in for the questionnaire, and we always get to hear why are we doing this. But at the end of that process, there's a lot of learning for both the sides.
It's actually like one of those, classroom assignments, like summer holiday homework that you didn't want to do, but you have to do. So I appreciate the sentiment. Akanksha, in your process of doing the strategy and branding and design for so many brands, startups, and otherwise, I'm sure that you also have seen the linkages between design and sales, right? Or customer acquisition. So talk to me a little bit about, how you view it, and, how you have actually helped a bunch of your companies achieve sales just because of the way the design or the visual identity looks?
So, I'll give you a small example of our recent packaging design project for a brand called Cupg, and they are into flavored green tea. Uh, One of the first brands in India doing that, and they've got some really
Fantastic.
amazing flavors. Uh, a unique concept of the tea being a part of the cup and just pouring hot water and it's ready to go. They came to us for packaging design, and they had these plastic pet jars that they were selling in before they came to us. And we really we were able to, one, of course, kudos to the founders Akash and Jay also. We were able to implement the design thinking process, which gave us which allowed us to test. And when we put it out in the market to test and we got real time feedback, they were able to increase the costing of the MRP of that product also, right? So they were selling it at about, I think, 130 or 180 bucks a jar, to say, like with 10 cups. But I can't really remember the right numbers, but they were able to increase it by almost 30%. So now it's selling at a 30% increase. People are finding it more premium. We got that feedback, and when we were able to take feedback at the first place, implement those, and then put it out in the green tea category, because green tea in itself is slightly at a premium. It's considered premium. It's going to be more expensive than a regular tea. But these guys were able to do that because of because we changed the material, we changed the way the package communicated to the audience, and we were able to do a lot more. And they were able to add, increase the costing. So that's like one of the examples at the top of my head where this we were able to do that. And also otherwise as well, when you start branding, people. So if we take a Starbucks ka example, today if you go and buy a coffee at a at a tapri, you don't want to, you'll pay that 15-20 bucks, but you're okay to pay a premium at a branded store even if the coffee sucks. So it's as simple as that. The minute you start talking about your business as a brand, if you start presenting yourself as a brand rather than a product that you're selling or a service that you're selling, you are going to be able to charge that premium as well, because you're charging them for the value add that you're adding to the to what you're offering.
Absolutely, and thank you for that wonderful example with Cup G. I also checked out the brand when you told me. Looks super super cute and exciting, and I've had a newfound love for teas, so definitely on my hit list to try. But Akanksha, you mentioned something about design thinking, and I want you to also talk to me about how would you recommend one integrates design thinking along with their brand strategy, right? Like, what's the process and how do you, in fact, you do it?
So okay, every project or every brand requires a unique way of approach. But if we have to do, if there's something common that you can do, is one, is to identify and empathize with all the stakeholders, right? Not only your customers, get in a buy-in of course, your clients, their customers, your team members who are working on it, so that it's a collaborative effort. Everyone's putting in their learnings into what is going to go out as the final output. Uh, Map your customer journey. Uh, Understand what the journey of your customer is going to be. Map what are the touch points going to be like, and then how can you enhance the experiences on those touch points. And these are doable even at whatever scale you are. You don't really have to be at a big scale to be able to do these exercises. uh, and once you've mapped your customer journey and you map these experiences, you will be able to define your problem statement as well. Like, what is it that you are trying to solve, or what is it that you want to communicate? And once you've defined that statement, the communication that needs to go out visually or verbally, it's going to become very easy and clear, because you'll get a clear understanding. These are my touch points. This is what I want to talk about, and then it's all about how I talk to them, and then get feedback. Find your trusted, clients or customers, or just your friends and family, your tribe of people. Get feedback, refine, and then uh, just keep following that process.
I love that. Find your tribe of people, and design is an iterative and collaborative process because it's not for you, but it's, so much for other people. And I can sort of personally vouch for that. That we've done so much of that with y'all for NQB in the past, couple of months, and continue to do that. So, kudos to your team. Akanksha, I'm gonna also address the elephant in the room, right? Like AI is taking over our world, it seems. Everywhere you look, whether it's the way we learn, read, network, everything is so based on AI, right? And of course, it has huge implications on design. So what are some of your thoughts when it comes to AI for marketing, for design, for strategy? I mean, you know,
We've started exploring AI, at least in our design. It's something that we internally as a team are still learning and exploring, but it's here to stay and grow. So there is no running away from it. It's about how we can integrate it into our processes to make our processes seamless, to make our outputs better. It's given us a lot of, honestly, a lot of freedom to think as well, right? With Mid Journey and with other apps, it now allows us to think out of the world. I mean, we may not be able to find the exact imagery like from a visual perspective, but at least we can start thinking imaginatively in a way that, maybe we'll find it on AI. If we get the right prompt, we'll get the right visuals as well. So for me, I think it's here to stay. It's about how we start integrating it into our everyday processes, and how we leverage it to better our outcomes and to help our clients.
No, absolutely. And in fact, you must also, I'm sure you have, but you must check out Simplified too. They've done a fantastic job on their tool. And then they've actually built it, for individuals, agencies, creators, and whether it's, creating really cool videos or just, making a presentation. Like in my job, I need to do a lot of decks, so I
Right.
do head to AI because it just saves me time, so many times. So I'm glad that you have a positive outlook towards this. And yeah, I feel like AI will never replace us, but they're there to assist us, right? So
Absolutely.
why not make the most of it?
Use it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Akanksha, my last question to you is on trends of the future. We are nearing the end of 2023, and I don't even know how. It's like 12 to this year. But I know a lot of people are thinking about 2024 to turn a new leaf, pick up trends that are going to be staying in the, like, there's some trends that will stay, some will go. So, when it comes to design, or branding, what are some of the trends that you foresee to be dominating in 2024 that the founders can sort of, really pick up?
Right. Some of the things that I am foreseeing is one, of course, is digital first experiences. Everything that now that we are designing, thinking about how it's going to go out in the digital world is what we think first before, in comparison to what we were doing earlier. Second is personalization and customization. So, how do you make your experiences for your clients, for your customers, personalized? Uh, Third is purpose driven and storytelling, like I was saying. So make sure that your story, if you can weave a story with purpose, so that it's easier for people to connect and stay connected with you, stay attached with you for a longer time. And One of the things that we are now working on, and I feel it's going to really grow in the next 1 2 years, is going to be voice branding and sonic branding. So audio branding. How we've been using visual brand identity and visual assets, but how do we now start building audio assets that are connected to your brand? Like earlier, if you think about it, some 20 years back, brands like Nirma and Bajaj, they had
The
these really
jingles.
jingles, and we sort of lost that in the last couple of
Yeah,
years. But
yeah.
that's definitely coming back again. It's about engaging all your five senses, right? So visual, sensory, all your five senses. In food, we do a lot of smell. So now the whole audio branding is something that's going to come soon and stay for some time.
Wow, that was fantastic. And thank you for those inputs. I loved it, right? From digital first to personalization to, what you spoke about, audio assets. So many nuggets of wisdom there, everyone who's listening in for you to pick up. And like I said, right, Akanksha personally coaches a lot of entrepreneurs on their design journey, on their brand strategy, and of course, Flying Elephant is a full-fledged end-to-end design agency that has been doing this, for brands in India but globally as well. So, if like me, you're someone who really wanted to change things in 2024, I think this is the right time to get in touch with them because it's December and everyone deserves a good break in the next couple of days. But till we sort of break off, do reach out to her. Akanksha is one of our renowned mentors also at Encu, and in fact, this is a preview of a masterclass that I'm going to be requesting her to do in a larger format next year. So stay tuned for that. And if any of you have any design based inquiries, she's available on LinkedIn or Akanksha. What's the best way for someone to get in touch with you and the team?
LinkedIn or email, either works.
Amazing, amazing. And yeah, I mean, we're happy to also connect you to Akanksha. So, Akanksha, it was absolutely fantastic having this conversation with you. I know I'm already questioning certain things in my mind, and I'm sure that everyone listening in and will probably see this video in the due course of next days is going to be getting those sort of curiosity and questions based on a lot of the insights that you've given us. So thank you so much for sharing it, and this was our first, but I promise you it's not going to be my last LinkedIn live with you.
Thank you, Diksha. This is really fun. Like I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm looking forward to what we can do next, and I'm looking forward to what Ncube is going to do next as well.
Yeah, a little bit of holiday, surprises, and then our Santa will come in Jan, not in December. So let me just sort of put it at that. But thank you so much, and for everyone listening in, we also do hope that you avail simplified credits. We have a flat 50% discount on any of the simplified plans. Just use the code EN50N50, to get that and get your creative juices going and see what a beautiful platform and tool they used. But till then, thank you so much and look forward to seeing you again.
Same here. Thank you, Diksha.
Thank
Bye.
you. And top three tips or advice for someone who's starting their networking journey.
I think the first is when you know nobody, the answer is build your network, right? Like you can't be building in a garage and thinking someday something's gonna happen, right?
And someone's gonna, find
Whatever, right? You're gonna raise money, you're gonna hire people, you're gonna sell to someone, you don't know anyone, right? So you can't do anything. So I think build your network because you wouldn't do this again. Like today, I do not build my network. I have no time to meet people. My only time goes to my business. Number two, don't be someone who's a networker. You need to be a builder who's a networker.
Exactly.
Not just a networker. I mean, it fits for someone who's not building something. But if you want to build a business, you want to build something plus network, And the last thing I say, in the early days of building network and whatnot and going out there. Lead with data.